I'd like to call this Village Board meeting to order. It's October 27th, 2014. This is Village Board meeting number 3084. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Abernathy.
Present.
Kim.
Here.
Meyer.
Here.
Semple.
Here.
Sullivan. Voss.
Here.
Thank you. Would everyone please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
America. America.
All right. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of several Boy Scouts here tonight. I take it you're getting your Citizenship in the Community merit badge. Is that right? Excellent. Okay, well, welcome. First on the agenda here after the pledge is the approval of minutes. We need a motion to approve the Committee of the Whole minutes from October 6th, 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Abernathy, second by Voss. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Voss.
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Semple.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Next, we need a motion to approve the Committee of the Whole minutes from October 13th, 2014.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Voss, second by Kim. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Voss.
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Semple.
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Motion carries. This brings us to the part in the evening where we have public commentary. Would anyone here like to address the board at this time? If you do, please raise your hand. We have one. Anyone else? Okay. Sir, go ahead and come on up, and please state your name and your address if you wish.
My name is Ryan Zicko. I'm with the Rotary Club, Mundelein and Vernon Hills. And as you know, today there will be a proclamation proclaiming today, or this week, End Polio Now Week. I'd just like to read a brief statement. On behalf of Rotary International, Mundelein Vernon Hills Rotary Club, I'd like to thank you, Mayor Lentz, the village board, and the staff for proclaiming this End Polio Now Week. As an organization, Rotary does a lot of wonderful things, both abroad and right here in town, but the group's overarching goal is worldwide polio eradication. Due to our 30-year effort by Rotary International and World Health Organizations, the prevalence of polio has declined, so much so that you may be wondering, why is this proclamation even important? So the question is, what is the big deal? Polio is a highly contagious virus that affects children. Some show few symptoms, others will experience paralysis and death. There is no cure for polio. Rotary, along with our partners, has reduced polio cases by 99% worldwide since 1979. More than 1 million Rotarians have contributed time and more than $1.2 billion, helped immunize more than 2 billion children against polio in 122 countries. That money goes towards the vaccines, but also research and education, as many of the unvaccinated are in impoverished, remote villages and are skeptical of outside intervention. The polio vaccine itself is an oral vaccine given by volunteers. It does not require much special training, but does require 3 doses to produce maximum efficiency. But that immunity is lifelong. A couple of key dates: it was invented in 1961. In 1988, polio was still in 125 countries, 5 continents, paralyzing over 1,000 kids per day. By 1991, there was the last case of polio in the Americas. 2002, Europe was certified polio-free. Where are we today? Polio is epidemic in 3 countries, Afghanistan, Nigeria, and Pakistan, with other countries in Africa having outbreaks. But through the efforts of Rotary and urgent outbreak response teams, we're making great progress. The future is yet to be written, which is why Rotary, World Health Organizations, and local governments such as this continue to stay the course. Fewer than 250 cases were reported worldwide in 2012, but experts say it could rebound to 10 million cases should we not continue with our actions. After an international investment of more than $9 billion, the successful engagement of over 200 countries and 20 million volunteers, polio could become the first human disease of the 21st century to be totally eradicated. It is only through continued education and awareness that we, as citizens of what has truly become a very small global world, can accomplish this goal. So with that in mind, I again say thank you to the Village of Mundelein for helping Rotary accomplish our goal and eradicate this disease.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Great. That takes us to the mayor's report. And there is a mayoral proclamation, and it is on End Polio Now Week. And, you know, honestly, in the interest of repeating, you brought up so many good points, and I had wanted to just kind of refer folks to the packet, if that's okay, because it's important that we recognize it's End Polio Now Week, October 24th through the 1st. It's a mayoral proclamation. And thank you for this piece of paper here. And I wanted to just, you know, I'm noting on here, and I just don't know how many younger folks today know what polio does to people. Even on this sheet, I don't see where it talks about what it does. And so I could just tell you, I had a friend in college, and we were friends well after college, and I think today he's with a major financial firm, but he contracted polio as a kid in the late 50s when he was born, and had polio, and it left him crippled, you know, for lifelong crippled. And he had the walkers and all that, and he had led a normal life, except he, you know, and this used to happen to millions of people all over the world, and now we're so close. And I know the resources, there's, you know, there's light at the end of the tunnel to get rid of this thing. So let's recognize that. I appreciate your efforts and the local Rotarians for all your work you do there. And thank you very much. And this is End Polio Week now, going on right now. Okay, let's see here. Let's go to, all right. We have a couple motions here under my report, board policy, public meetings. I need a motion to approve board policy on public commentary at public meetings. This is VB 14-14.
So
That
moved.
motion.
Need a motion
I'll
by
second it.
Sullivan,
Second.
second by Meyer. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor, could you
Yes.
just go over the, what we're doing here and why for the public?
You know, there's just one major change in terms of, yeah, why don't, you can just summarize it.
Yeah, there was a recent decision made by the council, Mr. Flynn, help me out, it's the,
Attorney General's office.
yeah, for the, that governs the Open
From
Meetings
the,
Act.
yes, from the
And that recent.
Open Meetings Council.
Right, that ruling came out and basically said that to protect people's privacy, that although you can ask during public commentary for people to state their name and address for privacy purposes, they do not have to give their address. They can volunteer their address, but they're not required to give their address. Now, that covers all of the public comment portions of the agenda. And if you've noticed, we've added that public comment portion of the agenda on other committee agendas as well. But this does not apply, although there hasn't been an official ruling. We did speak with the Attorney General's office, and they didn't believe that it would apply to public hearings at the Plan Commission when somebody stands up to object or to make comment on a petition in front of the Plan Commission during a public hearing, that they would be required to give their address because it was relevant perhaps to the public hearing process. So that's the gist of it.
So somebody can come to our village board meeting and read us the riot act, and may not even be a Mundelein resident, could be somebody from far away, and we're not even going to know it, correct?
Correct, unless they voluntarily gave their address.
When we do the public comment section, can we ask for all Mundelein residents to, if they want to speak, and put them as a priority before we open the floor to other others in the audience. I mean, just seems like a strange rule.
I know this, and I'll let Mr. Marino maybe weigh in if he'd like, but I know that you can create rules for conducting the public comment period. Many communities have adopted formal policies, much like the one you're considering tonight. You could have a formal policy that's approved by the board on how you conduct the public commentary portion. I'm sure Mr. Marino would tell us as long as those rules are reasonable, they would probably be okay. But right now, we haven't brought those forward for consideration, in large part because we simply don't seem to have a problem with our portion of the public commentary. The board has always been very good in the past of just letting people say what's on their mind as long as they're respectful, and we just simply haven't had a problem, so we never felt the need to bring forward a policy. So I guess that's a long-winded answer, but I can't answer that directly. I don't know if you can have a policy like that.
I think probably the best advice I could give is if it isn't broken, don't try to fix it. And here, public commentary has always been reasonable, and the board has been reasonable in allowing it. With respect to calling Mundelein residents first, that's something to be considered. I'd like to think about that and talk to co-counsel with respect to that before taking any action on it. And I will do that, report back to the board.
Trustee Voss.
But before we invest in attorney time, perhaps we should see if the majority of the board wants to make that differentiation, or if we simply want to continue on as we always have.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there won't be any attorney time charged for that. I don't charge for items
Well,
of that magnitude.
but maybe you don't need to. I don't support differentiating. We've always allowed people to come up, and I don't believe that we're going to have a big influx of people outside our community suddenly wanting to come and speak to us. So I don't really see a need to change what isn't broken.
Famous last words, right?
Yeah, well,
Okay. It's happened before.
well, and it will happen again, but
Yes.
it's not been a problem so much that we want to. It's not something that I want to see changed.
Okay. Yes.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Actually, is any personal information, even the name of an individual who's addressing us, something that is required?
Well, yeah, I
name.
think the name is required, and the Attorney General has not said that you can't ask for a person's name. Yeah, I don't think the right of privacy assumes total anonymity for people wanting to address the board. So I think, we have to just take it for what it is. And John has already mentioned that in talking to the Attorney General's office, it's been at least indicated preliminarily that this rule about not requiring the person speaking to give their address would not apply in zoning cases before the Planning and Zoning Commission, and that appears to be reasonable. I think this is a matter that really doesn't deserve a lot of attention beyond the fact that we'll follow the Attorney General's directive and phrase the question as the mayor indicated. Please state your name and your address if you wish. I think that covers it.
Since the onset of the great internet and all the communication potential that's been available through that, a lot of it can be anonymous, and many times it is. And I think everybody, whether in the audience or up here on the dais, will give and attach a great deal more importance to communications on any subject when the communicator that you're talking to or communicating with in some way or another identifies himself or herself. And so we really don't need to have any identification, but it certainly gives a lot more strength to the message that's being relayed when we do know who we're speaking to. They certainly know who we are. The names are right up there. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Voss.
Yes.
Semple.
Yes.
Motion carries. Finally, on my report is a commission vacancy application process. I would need a motion to approve the commission vacancy application process policy VB 14-13.
So moved.
Motion by Voss.
Second.
Second by Abernathy. Discussion?
Yes, please.
Trustee Voss.
Just quickly on, I guess it's page 1, under the application process, it says for incumbent commission member interested in continuing to serve on a commission must submit a letter of interest at least 1 month prior to expiration to the mayor. First of all, 1 month prior to the expiration, should it be of their term? And second of all, is 1 month really sufficient time if they because that means you wouldn't really know whether they were interested for until a month before their term was up. And if we're going to announce them 5 months before their term is up, perhaps 1 month isn't enough time. Maybe it should be within 1 month after they get the letter asking if they were interested in re-upping. I'm getting a nod over there.
Yeah, I could see where that would, timing-wise, would be a problem. So perhaps it should be, I think we said we would notice those terms that are expiring by January 1st. So
Should be
perhaps no
4
later,
months.
or no later than December, prior to their expiration of their term.
Okay, so do we want to
Something
say
like
that, or
that.
1 month after they receive notification from us that their term is expired?
Well, the notices sometimes are, we don't have a hard and fast rule on when those notices go out.
Okay,
So I think I'd prefer to say the December prior to the expiration of their term.
and again, not that I want to be difficult, but I know that we have a lot going on in December, a lot of staff vacations and such. Would it be better to say by January 2nd of the year that their term expires?
Yeah, I think that's fine too, because if they do show an interest, I think the interview process begins in March. So that would give the mayor and staff plenty of time, even if it was, around that time period, January.
Okay.
That would be fine as well. We can add that language, modify that language.
So do I have to modify my first to include that?
Yeah, you can just amend, if that's the only change.
Well, that's what I have. I don't know what anybody else has.
You can make that motion with that amendment.
Okay, so
in
I
your
make my
Is
motion
January
with that.
2nd?
January
You
2nd,
like
and,
that? I mean, in terms of the way
I would
things
say
are
by the
here?
end of January,
okay,
because,
by January 31st.
31st, yeah.
Okay,
All right.
by January 31st.
so, but,
Because applicants,
any incumbent commissioner interested in continuing to serve on a commission must submit a letter of interest by January 31st. Okay, by January 31st. We have to finish that sentence. By January 31st of the year their term expires?
Yeah,
Prior to, yeah,
by January 31st.
Prior, okay,
Prior to the expiration of their term.
okay.
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 Anyone
That's
else?
good for me.
Oh, yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, trustee Sullivan.
As you know, I am not in favor of this ordinance. I think it's fine, other than when we come to section 7, the termination of appointment. This section, I'm sorry, that's section 6. This section 6 would limit, I'm sorry, term limits is 7. Back up. This would mean that after 12 years, an individual, whether effective or not, would be forced to leave the commission. And these participants are volunteers, the great majority of whom put in significant time in their meetings and in preparation for meetings. Some actually have a professional background in the duties that they're asked to perform for the village. And the purpose of these volunteer committees is not to entertain the participants. It's not fun. It's not something that we view to be like a merry-go-round ride for kids where, Johnny, you got to get off because Mary's got to get on. This is business. And at the same time that we honor our employees for longevity, we dishonor our volunteer members with term limits. What's the difference? What could possibly be the difference? You know, I'm surprised that we have the number of volunteers that we do have. We've enacted a means of evaluation. We've enacted a means of publicizing vacancies. We entrust staff and the mayor to evaluate all applicants, whether they're trying to renew their membership in a commission or whether they want to be new members, and quality will count. And we can weed out the individuals that we believe, as a board or as staff, who aren't doing a good job. But in my view, under no circumstances should we throw out people who are doing a good job. And I truly believe that's dishonoring those individuals. And I think it's a serious mistake. And I will vote against this on the basis of Section 7.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm with trustee Sullivan on this. If we struck the term limit section, item 7, I would vote in favor of this proposal, but with term limits in there, I'm out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Anyone else? Trustee Voss.
Thank you. I appreciate what trustees Sullivan and Semple have said, but I just want to remind people that, first of all, when we ask people to volunteer for our community, I think they need to know it's not a lifetime commitment, that there will be an end to what we're asking of them. And second of all, in a community of our size, I think it's reasonable to think that there are people who want to volunteer in the community and given the opportunity would. We all know that people lead busy lives. If they think everything's been handled, they're not going to step up. If they know that on a regular basis, we need to get people involved in the community, I think they'll be, first of all, way more committed, and second of all, we'll step up. I don't think that we're in any way not appreciative of the hours our volunteers give, of the knowledge that they have, of the dedication that our volunteers have. I don't think that that has anything to do with this. I just think that term limits are a good thing. I'd like to see them for us, but I'll start with term limits for volunteers. And I think it's good that we get new blood on. There is in this ordinance a way for the mayor and the board to extend someone's term beyond 12 years if, for some reason, terminating their volunteerism after 12 years would cause hardship to the village. But that would have to be something proven and not automatic. We have a lot of commission members who just stay on, and because they've been doing it so long, they know their job, and things go smoothly. And I understand that, but I also understand that someone else can step in and learn it, and if we're doing succession planning on our commissions appropriately, then we will understand that there will be people coming and going, and we will be training new people all the time. And isn't that a great way to get more people involved in the village and knowledgeable about the village? So I support Section 7.
Anyone else? Trustee Meyer.
Yeah, and, you know, we've had all this conversation in previous meetings, but just to restate, I don't look at this as a penalty or that we're trying to get rid of somebody. I look at this as an opportunity that if you've been on one of our commissions for a long time, that then you would have the opportunity to serve on a different commission. There's nothing in here that says when you're done with your 12 years on one, then you can volunteer and contribute to another commission. So it's just the same commission, and then you have the opportunity to look at a different perspective of the village and still volunteer. So in no way should this be looked at as a penalty or trying to, you know, get rid of people, and all of the kudos that Trustee Voss mentioned, all of those apply. But this is an opportunity to then contribute to another one of our committees that we have in the village.
Like I said at our last board meeting, Mr. Mayor, this is something that I knew I had to give a lot of thought to, and mine doesn't come down to whether these commissions, all volunteers are giving of their time, and it is a very thankless job when someone volunteers their time. What I'm looking at is term limits. I think we should have term limits for all elected officials for all positions, whether it be at the state, federal, or local level. I believe in term limits. So if I believe in term limits, I have to believe in term limits across the board. That's just a personal thing. I can't be selective of what should get term limits and what shouldn't. So, thank you.
Okay. Trustee Kim?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll throw in my 2 cents. Not an easy decision, but you know, I'm a member of a group much like the Rotary, which is, you know, called the JCs, and we have an age limit as well. Not because we don't appreciate, you know, what people bring to the table, but more of a chance for younger people who are starting to get a chance at leadership and, you know, to give their ability to help the community. I agree that this is some of the things that we had mentioned in previous meetings, which weren't mentioned here, is the fact that they can certainly help in another commission after this one. Also, too, the difference between commission and volunteering in the Mundelein Community Days Commission, even if they're not on it, they can still volunteer for Mundelein Community Days and attend the meetings and still submit their feedback. So this is somewhat of a way for you know, new bodies to learn the leadership, learn what they're supposed to do as well, so they can carry the torch and we have succession. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. I'll weigh in. I would echo Trustee Sullivan's remarks. I think it's being lost here that some of these commissions do some serious business, and they're very specialized. They're very specialized, some of them. And it seems like there's being greater value put on seeing new faces, perhaps getting new ideas, than on really making sure we have quality people that are experienced, well-trained, serving the village on these highly specialized commissions and doing a good job. And when they are experienced and they're doing a good job, we want to keep them there if they're doing a good job. But there seems to be a greater value on having a rotating set of faces and new blood and all that stuff. I want to see these commissions operating at the highest level possible. For example, the Police and Fire Commission. You know, we've spent lots of money over the years having these folks get very well trained in dealing with issues of personnel. I mean, this is very serious business here. Plan and Zoning Commission, they undergo training as well. And so I think we do dishonor them, those that have dedicated themselves. Starting not next year we have 1 or 2 coming up, but then the following year we're going to start having, you know, a lot of these good people will be forced out, and for no reason other than to get some fresh blood in there. Meanwhile, we're having a great service done by so many people. I think it's a mistake. So there you have it. Anyone else?
Could I just
Yes.
make one? There was an amendment to the policy as presented by Trustee Voss, and listening to the conversation about term limits and the intent of the board to limit the 12 consecutive years to a single commission, I would suggest that the board consider maybe modifying the first sentence under Section 7 titled Term Limits. It currently reads, commission members are limited to 12 consecutive years of service on a commission. I would suggest that you strike the word "a," and it would then read 12 consecutive years of service on the same commission. So add the words "on the same" and replace the word "a." That makes it a little more clear what the board's intent is. And if that's okay, then maybe include.
my motion to include that change.
Okay.
Okay, now what you're going to do is, an individual goes off for a year, they can be reappointed in year 14. Is that okay?
Well, they'd be
Yeah.
starting over and they would have they'd be starting over and other people would have had an opportunity to throw their hat in the ring. But otherwise, yes, if there's no one else that wants to do it, they can come back on.
Okay. So you agree with the wording?
Yes.
That's what the word
It's also.
is.
I
would
think
mean.
that wording's also taking into account, so if someone serves 12 years in the Economic Development Commission, they could then go and serve 12 years on Planning and Zoning.
Yeah. However, if you want to just block them off, eliminate the word consecutive. You want to do that?
No, then you're saying, Then you're saying that they could never serve again, Trustee Sullivan.
That's right.
You're just playing games with us. I think we're good. Should we go ahead and call the question?
The games are being played, there's no doubt of that.
Anyone else? Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Voss,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Semple,
No.
Meyer,
Yes.
Sullivan,
No.
Kim.
Yes.
It's 4-2. Motion carries. That completes my report. That takes us to trustee reports, Public Works Committee, Trustee Meyer.
Unless you haven't, no, I don't have anything tonight for my report then.
Very good, thank you. Finance Committee, Trustee Sullivan.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Turn my light on, thank you. We have a motion this evening to reimburse trustee Abernathy at $142.80. These expenses related to the Illinois Municipal League Conference, and I'll make that motion to reimburse her.
Second?
Motion by Sullivan, second by Voss. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Voss?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Abernathy?
Abstain.
Meyer?
Yes.
Motion carries.
One other motion to pay AT&T a number of bills totaling $2,929.31, and I will make that motion also.
Motion by Sullivan,
Second.
second by Abernathy. Discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Meyer,
Abstain.
Semple,
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Motion carries.
This evening on our omnibus list of motions is a motion comprised of payments in the amount of $500,780.90. This is our bill list. One of the major components of that list is an amount to Chicagoland paving. This is for the construction of the resurfacing, I believe it was, on the entryway to the Public Works Complex. This is in the amount of $177,990.32. Unless anyone has a question or comment regarding the bill list, that completes my report.
Thank you. Next up, Public Safety Committee, Trustee Semple.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to call a Public Safety Committee meeting for the second meeting in November, which would be November 24th at 6 o'clock p.m. This will be regarding a canine unit for the police department. Chief Gunther and his staff have put together, or they're working on a presentation for us. We'll have that, and all the public is welcome. And then as far as anything else, Chief Sashko, you want to give us anything that's going on in the fire department we need to know?
Just briefly for the board, as you know, we have been inundated with a lot of work with Ebola. And I will tell you that rest assured the pre-hospital planning in this area in general and throughout the county is really in good shape. And surveillance and all of the protocols that need to be reviewed, CDC checklists, and everything that we need to go through. We went through extensive training last week. Not that communicable diseases is a new thing for us, but certainly some of the features of what's gone on with this. Again, the odds in our area that we would see an Ebola patient are very slim. But ironically enough, and the lines of communication are strong, our police department actually had contact with someone that was from Sierra Leone, slightly outside the date range of where exposure could have been an issue, and wasn't symptomatic, but that process was followed up on by the Lake County Health Department through the coordinated efforts, and Deputy Chief Monahan was involved with it. So it just goes to show that we do have a very solid system in the area here, and that if we are faced with something, there are 4 designated hospitals now in the Chicagoland area that could be receiving hospitals, but I think that, we're in really, really good shape. So just for the general public to know that too in our area. And then the only other couple updates, we did complete a CERT class this last weekend and picked up another, I think, 10 members. So that group is continuing to grow and be a very formidable piece of our emergency management plan. And then our new engine that we actually purchased almost a year ago, Deputy Chief Leidig had the pre-paint inspection on that a couple weeks ago, and we should see that delivered by the end of November. So that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Any need for a meeting in the near future? Terrific. Deputy Chief Hanson, anything for police?
Nothing from the police. Ebola, same thing, working with the fire department to make sure that we're prepared if we have an instance. So, that's it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's all.
That's it. Okay.
Trustee Semple, I was wondering when we have this public safety meeting, is there going to be a police dog so that we can
Yes.
present?
Yeah, it's going to be a dog and pony show without the pony.
Okay.
So that was going to be part of the surprise that we were going to have for the meeting. But yeah,
Sorry, I
there will
blew
be,
your surprise, but I just wanted to be,
Bring truth.
okay.
yeah, there will be a
I got it.
veteran officer with a retired canine, I believe, recently retired from one of our neighbors. I think Wakanda will be here and be part of the discussion and demonstration.
Thank you.
Very good. That's it. Okay. Let's see. Next up, Community and Economic Development Committee, Trustee Voss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have several things on the agenda tonight. The first one is regarding a variation request to allow encroachment at 663 Countryside. So just sort of as a frame of reference, for the people in the audience, when someone requests a variance from the board or from the Plan Commission and from the board, there's something called a justification of hardship. In order for us to grant a variance, there has to be some hardship that prevents someone from following the rules that everyone else has to follow. So, in order to pass this variance, the resident had to prove that there was hardship. In this first question that we have, on Countryside 663 Countryside, the Plan Commission deemed that there was not a justification of hardship. So the first motion that I'm going to make is a motion to accept the Planning and Zoning Commission minutes and findings of fact.
Motion by Voss.
Second.
Second by Abernathy. Discussion?
That was Kim.
Oh, I did, whatever, not a
I
problem.
saw her say.
Oh, sorry.
Abernathy. Voss, Abernathy. Discussion? Clerk, please call
We're
the roll.
just accepting.
Voss,
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Semple,
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next up, and again, we're not in the discussion phase, we're just making a motion that we have seen and we accept the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendations. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Voss, second by Abernathy. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Voss.
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Semple,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. So again, 663 Countryside, they requested that they be given a variance to allow them to put up a 3-car garage that would encroach on their side lot. And staff and the Plan Commission felt that they did not justify the hardship. Their hardship is that they have a strangely shaped lot and that they are required to have a 10-foot minimum side lot. Not every one does, and because of that, that's their hardship. They would have room to put a 2-car garage without this encroachment, but they feel aesthetically that a 3-car garage would be better. So, I take it we have the petitioner standing at the microphone.
Yes, you do. I'm Rick Clymer, 663 Countryside Highway here in Mundelein.
Okay, so procedurally, do we need to get a motion on before we can?
Yes, that would be best.
Okay, so I will make a motion to authorize staff to draft a resolution denying a variation to permit an attached garage to encroach into the required interior side yard at 663 Countryside Highway.
Motion by Voss.
Second.
Second by Semple. Discussion now.
Okay,
Go ahead.
now, Mr. Clymer, if there's something that you feel that,
Do you mind if I read a little introduction, so to speak?
is this
Pages?
something that you've already given to the Plan Commission? We've already seen it.
It's basically in addition to.
Okay, so if it's new information,
Part of what is currently in the information is our family's been a resident of Mundelein for 28 years. And we enjoy the home location village and all the friendly people we've become to know as our friends and neighbors. We're members of Community Protestant Church here in town, been members there for 25 years, participating on and/or chairing various boards. Been members of the choir. I myself have supported youth baseball in Mundelein for the last 23 years. I've been a Little League baseball manager, umpire-in-chief for the Mundelein Little League, and then when they dissolved, umpire-in-chief for the current Mundelein Baseball Softball Association. And I also serve on the MBSA board. Our hardship is that our lot is a unique shape, as you mentioned, and does not allow us to build a larger garage as either attached or separated on our current land. Some of the homes in our neighborhood have 3, even 4-car garages, and I believe that our request does not and will not set a trend. Many homes in our neighborhood have detached 2.5-car garages in their backyards, and those properties have parallel interior side yards that would be normal and yield a consistent side yard from front to back. The current zoning code applies only to the front street side dimensions to its formula and does not have any consideration for any other than an assumed rectangular shaped lot. Our street frontage is 127 feet, and basically we have 2 frontages for our property. And at that point would support a 3-car garage. We're requesting 3 feet, 1 inch of area into the required side yard in order to support a 3-car attached garage. If approved, this would still respect the minimum 5-foot required side yard, as our intent is to build to 6 feet, even though we've requested 5 feet. And the extra foot is for variation in the field when doing construction. And there has been, from what I understand, a slide or a printout of that was done by the department to show you what we're looking to do. The original siting of the house on the lot dictates much of what we can and cannot do with our property, solely within the existing zoning code without a variance. To this, there is no ability to build a 2-car garage without us requesting a variance to do a 2-car garage. Anything we look to do currently, we would have to request a variance for, whether to build out, back, or forward. This is the basis of a request, that the existing circumstances are not manufactured by us, the homeowners, and are brought upon by the code, the property shape, and the original existing house placement on the lot. Our current single-car garage has some settling issues, and we'd like to address this concern by demolishing the original attached garage and building a new attached garage that better suits our current needs. Removing the current structure and any existing foundations will allow us to investigate and correct any underlying structural issues before constructing anything new. The proposed garage and driveway would allow us to move our cars further back from the roadway, would offer a clearer line of sight for motorists at the intersection. In the past, there have been several near misses and a few accidents at this intersection, and the expansion of our driveway would allow us to safely maneuver and exit our driveway in the mornings when Carmel High School traffic flows through our neighborhood. Our home was built with a beam structure. It continues through our current garage. Our plan is to continue that same roof line into the new garage. Our goal is to keep the addition aesthetically pleasing. We intend to update the entire roofing, fascia, soffits, gutters. We also plan to update the current facade so that it blends with the siding of the garage. We have hired an architect to help us create a new garage structure that will be a cohesive design, resolve current issues, and better suit the needs of our family. Given our uniquely shaped lot, the only reasonable approach to solve all of the latter is to add to the length of our ranch-style house. In addition to sending the 33 certified letters required by this petitioning process, I personally approached several neighbors to discuss our project and answer any questions they had regarding our variance request. From those discussions, I did not encounter any homeowner that objected to our project. Most importantly, the neighbor that is closest to the side yard that will have all of the construction has wholeheartedly supported our efforts. In conclusion, I'd like to present the letter of support signed by our neighbors for your review. May I approve? Just one original. Okay. I have it on a stick, but I don't have a laptop here to put it up on the board for everyone. We respectfully request that the village board members approve this request to improve our property. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that you've spent a lot of time on this and that you've come to us and that you are heartfelt in your request, and that you have neighbors who don't object. But just for the record, we have to assume that you won't always live there and they won't always live there. And so we have to sort of take that with a grain of salt. And also because we never want to put one neighbor in the position of having to refuse to allow the neighbor to do something and damage the neighbor-to-neighbor relations. That's why this board and the Plan Commission are asked to make those decisions. So before we make a decision, I'd really like to ask Victor to explain why the Plan Commission and why staff feel that we should not grant this variance.
The Plan Commission found that that while the petitioner of the property owner presented a case for uniqueness and some hardship, there was certainly a case for hardship to be made if you're looking for a request for a two-car garage. But in this case, the request for was for a three-car garage, really extending and expanding upon a legal non-conforming side yard setback. And they didn't feel that the hardship was there to approve a three-car garage. If this would have been maybe a two-car garage, I think they would have been more inclined to approve a variation. But what the Planning and Zoning Commission found was that the request for a three-car garage was a mere convenience and not hardship-based.
And the petitioner has said that you can't build a two-car garage without a variance. When I read the Plan Commission notes, it makes it seem like you can. So, I'm asking Victor, hold on. So can he build a two-car without a variance?
What came out of the public hearing is that, yes, a two-car garage can be built without a variance.
Okay. A two-car, is that news to you that you're?
That is news, but if I can also interject, if you read through your packets that you were supplied,
Yes.
our current one-car garage sits at the 9-foot 1-inch line.
Mm-hmm.
Anything we do to go further than that, we would have to request a variance for. So therefore, there is no opportunity to build a ranch-style two-car garage.
So, our Victor, is that, he's saying that what you said
Sure.
isn't true, so one of you
Okay.
guys is mistaken.
Well, if that's the case, then there's no hardship for a three-car garage. And again, the Plan Commission was inclined to approve and be more receptive to approve a hardship and a zoning variation for a two-car, but not a three-car.
Is there any interest on your part to have a two-car garage?
It wouldn't give us in the village what they would need for that corner. We have interest in expanding our garage, yes. The biggest issue is, I guess, what we're being told is we can't have a three-car garage, and that's not what I saw in the ordinance. The ordinance gave frontage footage that we had to be less than 50% of our entire frontage for a three-car garage. And we would only be 35 shy of 40% if we were allowed a three-car garage and given the 3.5 feet. To do a two-car garage, the only way to do a real two-car garage would be to ask for more than the 3 feet 1 inch that we're asking for, so that we could have a rectangular garage, because we have some structural issues with the roofing. We have a beam structure, and with that beam structure, if we have less than a rectangular garage for a two-car garage, that causes us an issue for various support for the roofing structure. By allowing us the 3 feet 1 inch and allowing us to go to a three-car garage, the beam structure that we have through our garage is on the correct side of the cutoff of where the angled garage would be.
Mhm.
That would allow for support on both sides of the roof line for the garage itself.
Okay, well, so perhaps now would be a good time to see if any other board members have questions.
Yeah, I went out and visited the site yesterday, and looking at the lot, it's a very unique shaped lot, and like the petitioner stated, it kind of has frontage on two streets because of the area where the house lays, and I don't believe you're even allowed off-street parking there, are you, in front of your house?
There is street parking, but off-street parking, What are you referencing now?
On the
Can
street,
you-
on street, excuse me.
On the street, on one side, there is not because there is a school across the other side, so there is limited parking, and basically it would be restricted to one side of the street.
Thank you. And Victor, we're hearing this hardship, you know, the petitioner has to demonstrate a hardship. How are we defining hardship? Because I'm looking at this request, and the hardship is the petitioner feels they want a 3-car garage, and it doesn't seem like a luxurious thing to request room for your vehicles when you only have a 1-car garage. What is the standard for hardship? It seems like a subjective term, because what might be a hardship for me and my family might be different than you and your family or anybody else sitting out here. Is there a clear, defined version of what hardship is that the Plan Commission and staff are using?
The clear and defined version that the Planning and Zoning Commission used was that no one else in this neighborhood could come in and request that type of relief. Everyone else is subject to the 5-foot setback requirement. In this case, because the lot is unique, they are able to have a little bit greater of a setback. But even then, because the lot is unique, the setback is established at 10 feet. This property, as it is right now, does not meet the 10-foot setback requirement. They're at 9 feet. And so they're already encroaching into the required setback, but because it's a legal non-conforming, it is what it is. And so now by just the mere request, we're asking them to encroach even further than what the ordinance allows them and what they're supposed to have, and that's a 10-foot setback.
All right, when this is the discussion portion of the motion, I will vote against the motion because I am in favor of granting the variation. So when it comes for a vote, I will vote no on this, and if need be, I'll make a second motion directing staff for resolution to approve the variance so the petitioner can build what they want in a 3-car garage.
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Meyer.
Yeah, I've always felt that our use of the hardship clause requirement is unreasonable for some of the reasons Trustee Semple mentioned and a variety of other reasons. I've brought this up in the past, how I don't feel that the hardship clause is really a good clause and is being used in a reasonable manner. I do find their request reasonable, and I also will not support this motion as written and would approve this request.
So perhaps this would be a good time to request a committee of the whole meeting so that we can train everyone on the use of justification of hardship and understand that it is not our choice but a legal requirement. Do I have that right?
Well, that's a legal requirement of the Planning and Zoning Commission to forward on the recommendations for the board to consider. Once it's at the board level, the board can decide whether or not to go in line with the Planning and Zoning Commission, or for that matter, go in a completely separate direction.
Again.
But the task of hardship is on the Planning and Zoning Commission
Okay.
when they make a recommendation and they forward that recommendation to the to the village board.
So in the years that I've served on this board, it's not a secret that I don't support variances unless they can prove a justification of hardship, because it is written as that the burden is on you to prove a justification of hardship. And at different times, this board has said, well, we shouldn't look at it that way. We should look at it as what harm would it do? And I have always said, then we need to change our ordinance to say, what harm would it do? And not justification of hardship, because otherwise it can be capriciously used. So I would just ask the board to consider, if really what you want is a standard of what harm would it do, then could we please look at the verbiage that we use to make these decisions and change it to what harm would it do? Trustee Sullivan and I have had this conversation, I can't even tell you how many times.
We're about to have it again also.
Over the last few years. So if you want it to be what harm would it do, then let's do something about the wording and make it be what harm would it do? Because to me, that is not what the wording is. The wording is justification of hardship. And no offense, but while I might be sympathetic to you wanting a 3-car garage, in my belief, I can't say, oh, this is a nice guy and he just wants a 3-car garage and I should give you a variance, and someone else over here, well, their neighbors don't really like it and so I won't give it to them, or I don't really like what they're doing, or they didn't ask nicely. So for all of those reasons, I just think that we can't go against what our ordinance is, and our ordinance doesn't say what harm would it do. So, do you have something to add to that, Trustee
quite
Sullivan?
finished?
Yes, I am.
If the chair would recognize me.
Well, actually, I'm the chair.
No, you're not.
Yeah, this is under me.
No, you're not the chair.
No, it's your committee report.
Okay.
Trustee Sullivan,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
thank you.
I believe that Mr. Clymer has demonstrated hardship, substantial hardship. Also, I understand that no one objects to the project as presented. And it is my recognition that no one's health, safety, or welfare is affected. Nobody's property values are affected. No one's enjoyment of their property is going to diminish. Mr. Clymer pays his taxes for 27 years. He's contributed to the community. That doesn't matter. Nevertheless, we should recognize that. There is no way that Mr. Clymer shouldn't be afforded the opportunity to make this improvement. At the same time, there is no way that we should not recognize the fact that hardship is important, because there may be something that comes before us that we'll make a decision in another direction. And just because the Plan Commission voted, and they didn't vote unanimously, there are 6 members that voted, 2 of them, including the chairman, voted to grant.
And I would argue there is a hardship, because if you look at the diagram, in order to have storage in their garage, if they want to even make their garage deeper and go into their backyard, they still would have to come to us for a variance for that. So, because you can see where their encroachment is. So, either way, I did talk to the neighbor next door, directly next door, that this would affect. The neighbor said they don't have a problem with it. I do think a hardship does exist for this family, and just saying that no other home has a 3-car garage in that neighborhood, to me, isn't justification, because when you drive through the neighborhood, some of those homes are 2 stories. The majority are not. The majority of homes in that subdivision are all 1 story. So there's some odd 2-story homes in that neighborhood. Well, they were obviously said they wanted more room and wanted to build up. So I think we need to, I'm going to be against this and be for giving the variance.
Well, perhaps then I should withdraw my motion and Trustee Semple can withdraw his, and someone else should make a motion to approve this. I will vote no because, again, I hear the board saying what harm it would do.
No, it's not what harm it would do. It is, to me, they have shown a hardship.
Okay.
It has not, what harm would they do? To me, they have proven a hardship.
Let's vote on this, and then we'll entertain a motion to do the follow-up.
We don't want to just withdraw the motion?
No, the
Okay.
motion's on the agenda.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, could I?
Yes, Trustee
Sorry.
Kim, certainly.
Thank you. I just wanted to add some additional information as well. In the data, the way it was presented to me, it is correct that the 1-car garage is butting up to this red dotted line. And if the 2-car garage is allowed, I don't see how it would work. It goes 3 feet 1 inch in, even if you wanted to extend it a little. Therefore, even if you went to 3-car garage, it still is at only 3 foot 1 inch and goes no further. So if you would allow one, and I know it seems to be like a technicality that he would have had to ask for a variance, but it seems about the same variance if he had asked for a 2 or a 3, that it would have gone 3 feet 1 inch. An additional piece of information is that right by his home, there is a sign that says there's a dangerous intersection over there, and so his additional driveway addition looks like it would help him turn around. Thank you.
Okay. Why don't we take the, go ahead and take the vote, and then we'll continue. Clerk, please call the roll.
Voss,
Yes.
Semple,
No.
Meyer,
No.
Abernathy,
No.
Kim,
No.
Sullivan.
No.
Okay, motion does not carry. Now, how should we proceed then?
Well, if one of the trustees wants to make a motion to direct staff to prepare an ordinance allowing the variation, requested that would be appropriate.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion as stated by Village Attorney Marino.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Semple, second by Sullivan. Discussion. Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Semple,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Voss,
No.
Meyer,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, so for clarification for you, what that means is in 2 weeks, the resolution to grant your variance will come back and this board will vote on it, and then you'll have it in 2 weeks. Okay? Okay. Next up is request for sewer connection by the Roadster Shop located at 28775 North Route 83. And the Roadster Shop had asked, God, this is a statement of my existence, had asked to hook up to our sewer system, and we told them, or this motion is to authorize the village administrator to provide written notification to the property owner that in order to hook up to our sewer system, they'd have to be annexed to us, and that's all the county needs to allow them to go without hooking up to us to use septic. Yes? I'm explaining this.
Okay, you don't want to make the motion first? You almost said the motion.
Okay, would you like me to make the
Please
motion
do.
first,
Yes,
Mr. Mayor?
please.
Okay.
Please do.
Motion to authorize the village administrator to provide written notification to the property owner that the connection to our sewer system will require annexation.
Second.
Motion by Voss, second by Abernathy.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I proceed now,
Yes,
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. So, it would appear as though in some instances, the owner of the Roadster Shop has had some problems with the village and therefore is not really inclined to annex to us at this time. And they therefore need this letter from us. But I would just like to throw out to the board that it is in our long-term goal to continue annexing property. And if we ever want to consider the Roadster as a possibility for annexation, it might behoove us to consider some agreement with them to give them sewer without requiring them to annex, to develop a better relationship with them than we currently have. And you're here from the Roadster Shop? Yes, who I did talk to today. And
Yes, I know.
And he would be interested in sewer without annexation.
Excuse me, could I have your name, please?
My name is Kim Clavey, C-L-A-V-E-Y.
Thank you.
And you don't have to give an address.
Right.
And so I'm just wondering, is there a legal prohibition to us extending sewer to them?
No, there isn't. In fact, I believe the ordinance allows for the board to grant sewer connections to property outside the village under certain conditions. I don't have the ordinance in front of me, but I believe that one of the conditions is they pay 1.5 times the connection charge, sewer expansion charge. And then they pay 1.5 times the rate for sewer service on an ongoing basis. And there have been properties in the past that the village has allowed to connect onto the village sewer system that are not within the village boundaries.
Okay, so that being the case, then perhaps we should talk to Mr. Gerber further about extending that to him so that he could have access to our sewer. And again, we could start perhaps having a better relationship with him. He full well understanding that that will in no way require him to annex, and that he understands what the village's ultimate goal is. So, since you're here representing Mr. Gerber, do you want us to authorize staff to give you this letter, or?
Yes, I'll take the letter, and I just know his intentions. He wants to move on this as quickly as possible. So I know we've been talking to Victor and everyone for a while. So we'd like to, whatever your decisions are, we appreciate it and we appreciate your time, but I know we'd like to continue moving in whatever direction.
So I guess if we give you this letter, could you ask him to hold it for a few days? So
I'll
that,
come and pick it up.
so that we could have time to talk about a sewer hookup under different circumstances, if that is the pleasure of the board. I'm seeing that. Does anybody?
I had a question to ask.
Okay.
I know that last time we had a petitioner ask for the same type of letter, but their intent was not to hook up to sewer. But what is the intent of, it is because you do want to hook up to our sewer?
No, well, if hooking up requires, they don't want to annex to us. Yes, they would like our sewer, is what Mr. Gerber's, but they don't want to annex.
Okay, because a couple weeks ago, we had someone who didn't want to annex and didn't want our sewer, yet they wanted this letter. So
Yes.
this one wants to hook up to our sewer service, knowing full well that it would be like 1.5 the rate.
Yes,
Okay.
we discussed that for a good
Okay.
month.
Apparently, we gave them the impression that we didn't want to do that, and I'm suggesting that we can reconsider that idea. And
Well, if they know and
Ask them.
understand, that's fine with
Would
me.
be all for allowing him to hook up.
Trustee Sullivan, do you want to weigh in?
Sure. They want to build a septic system. Right?
Well, they would prefer to have our sewer if we will give it to them without requiring them to annex.
If you have our sewer, if you have village services, you got to be part of the village, in my view. I'm
But
sorry.
according to Attorney Marino, we have other examples.
Yeah, we can, but that, at the board's discretion,
Yes,
we can grant sewer outside the village of Mundelein
yes,
into our system.
yes. Are you
Gotta
willing
annex.
to consider
No,
them
I-
as an
I-
exception?
No, I think that the owner wants to construct a septic system. He does not want to annex, and I don't want to hook our sewer into unincorporated areas outside the village.
So we have done that before by precedent.
Yeah,
Okay, so,
you know,
and again, when I spoke to the owner today, he was interested in getting to our sewer, but not annexing. So we have a no, we have a yes?
I don't think this decision brings
Yes?
about any hard feelings or concerns in regard to.
No, I think the hard feelings and concerns are already there, and I'm saying that this would go far to help soothe them
Well, I don't have any
over.
hard feelings about the gentleman not wanting to annex the village of Mundelein. If I were him, I wouldn't want him either. It's $2,000 more in real estate taxes.
Yeah, that's,
For every, I mean, assuming he's got depending on every $300,000 of market value, it's another $2,000. So I understand his position.
I understand his
But I hope he
position as well.
doesn't think unkindly of myself or my colleagues because we don't want to extend sewer if you're not in the village of Mundelein.
Well, his,
I would be for it. I'll just let you know. I would be for
okay, so could we
extending.
just poll the
him that
rest of the
option.
board and maybe?
Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead. Trustee Kim?
She already said yes.
Which one? Okay.
I said as long as they understood that they would have to pay more.
Yes.
And they understand that, then, and they're willing to accept that, then.
All right, so trustee Sullivan, you would vote yes for this motion as it's stated, and trustee Kim, then you would vote.
We would, I
presumably-
think we could all vote yes to this, but just ask that.
I'd rather vote no
Okay.
and
Right.
vote
That's
no
correct.
on this,
Right.
because once we give him that letter, then he's going to get septic. We should vote no on this letter and open up the dialogue to say, let's give you sewer, it's 1.5 times, water, let's let you hook up at 1.5 times. I think let's deny the letter and let's let that conversation take place.
I think that conversation has taken place, hasn't it, for a while?
Well,
We have
No.
had some conversation, but
I don't, in my conversation
we-
with him today, he
Yeah.
wasn't understanding that this was a possibility until today. He did not understand that he could maybe get our sewer without being required
Right.
to annex.
We have talked about that for, Victor, 2 months?
we talked about that in our first meeting, but knowing the desire of the board, we had not offered that as an option because I know that it's been the board's policy to pursue annexation as much as possible.
The decision on whether or not to allow sewer outside the corporate boundaries is vested with the village board and not with the staff. So, our conversations were based on maybe our impressions, or at least what past practice may have been, but the board is certainly free to do what they want in this instance of whether or not you want to offer sewer service to Mr. Gerber outside the corporate boundaries.
So, do you want to finish weighing in? We already did. We did this whole end.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
Turn it, there we go.
I'm okay with offering them the sewer at the 1.5 time rate. We're coming up on a intergovernmental agreement with the neighboring community to provide other services, building inspections, we're outsourcing. Maybe we can start thinking about some of our city services as an outsourced opportunity too, as a revenue generator for the rest of the village. And, perhaps once you weigh the costs of paying the non-resident, non-Mundelein water and sewer rates, maybe we can convince you to come into Mundelein. But if you want to pay the higher rate, I'd just assume make some money off you guys. It's a business decision. So I'll vote to allow the use of our sewer and possibly water for an unincorporated,
Not water, just sewer.
excuse me, sewer, in this instance. So, in a note to the letter, with the hope that you will come around and realize it would be beneficial for everybody to come into the village.
Trustee Abernathy?
Oh, I already said,
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. Trustee Meyer?
I could go along.
Okay. So
So, can
Just-
I,
I want to clarify, so we
Yeah, that's what I was
understand
gonna
what's going
do.
on here. We have this motion that we would provide you with written notification that for you to get the sewer would require annexation, and there seems to be the feeling that we're going to say no to this, within the expectation that we will then begin talks with you about hooking up to our sewer without the annexation required. I just want to confirm, you're interested in pursuing those talks with us?
I
Is
mean,
that-
that's what we've been talking about for about 2 months. that,
Okay.
The water runs right in front of the building, the sewer is across the street. We've talked to engineering, we've
Okay.
talked to everyone. We would like to stay there, and like you said, there's no reason to have something, to fix something if it's not broken.
Right.
We're in unincorporated Lake County, we've been there for years. It works, it just so happens, we are very busy, we are building on.
Okay.
And if we can tie into your sewer and pay the 1.5% rate, or whatever the agreement is, that's what we've been trying to look towards.
Okay. Very good.
so, If we say no to this letter, Charlie, do we then need to do something directing staff to negotiate that rate?
What you would do if you vote no to this, then, is just informally ask staff to come back with a proposal.
Okay.
For granting sewer service at the next meeting.
Okay,
Then that
Okay.
will be 2 weeks out.
mhm, okay. All right, so we have a,
I think we can take the vote now unless
Okay.
anyone else has comments. Okay.
Voss,
no.
Abernathy,
No.
Semple,
No.
Meyer,
No.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Kim.
No.
Motion does not carry.
And so you will contact staff?
I'll talk to Neil, I'll have him call you tomorrow.
Okay, that's fine.
And
And,
we'll go from there.
okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next up is encroachment variation regarding the property at 418 Lakeview Drive in Mundelein. Petitioner is here. As you remember, he was before us 2 weeks ago and needed to do some cleanup to his yard. This is a motion, I'll make the motion to pass an ordinance granting encroachment variations regarding the property at 418 Lakeview Drive.
Second.
Motion by Voss, second by Abernathy.
Does staff want to explain what the property owner has done to?
Sure. Director Brewer and I went out and met with him. We looked through his rear yard, and I think we can all agree that there were some things that were done in preparation for the addition. There were some weeds, stuff like that we talked about, and he did clean up the side yard with some just things that he took apart for preparation for the addition. So that's all been cleaned up. The deck remains. There's some further discussion on the deck, but I think he's clearing the way for his addition.
And the shed was moved the 5 feet off the easement, 3 feet off the property.
I saw that today as well.
Okay, so, my own little personal thing is garbage cans need to be moved so that they're not in front of your garage. It's ordinance. Does anybody else have any?
Any other discussion? Okay.
So again, as per before, I don't have a justification of hardship that I can see in this case. The standard is not what harm would it do. I will vote no, but I fully anticipate that everyone else will vote yes.
All right. Clerk, please call the roll.
Voss,
No?
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Semple,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Motion carries.
So same thing, we're authorizing, we're passing, oh, no, you don't have to wait the 2 weeks. We've already done that. You're good. There you go. Okay, next thing up is an intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Hawthorne Woods and the Village of Mundelein. This is a motion to adopt a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of a third amendment to the intergovernmental agreement for building inspections and plan reviews between the Village of Hawthorne Woods and the Village of Mundelein. And this is what Trustee Semple was referencing earlier.
Motion by Voss,
Second.
second by Semple. Discussion? Okay. Clerk, please.
Wait.
What? So-
Yes, I have a question in Meyer. had a
Okay,
question.
Trustee Kim.
Meyer. I just wanted to ask what our normal rate is, because I see we're giving Hawthorne Woods $112.50, so I was wondering if it was kind of like our sewer rate, where it's 1.5 over our own rate, or,
No, that's our overtime rate.
okay, so it is kind
Yeah.
of time and a half.
Right.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes, Trustee Meyer.
Yeah, I know our building people are really, really good, and my question comes in because construction has picked up, and I know that they're stretched really thin, that if we adopt also caring for Hawthorne Woods, I want to make sure that we have a plan in place so that our residents aren't inconvenienced or delayed because we're servicing another community. And I know that there's been some discussion on that, making sure that everybody gets, that top-notch service that we're all used to. But I'd like to know what that plan is before I can comfortably vote to have us service both communities.
We are servicing both communities.
Well, I know we are.
Okay.
But in the past, we were servicing both communities because the demand was fairly low and we had the personnel to do that. What I'm saying now is the demand is very high and our personnel is being very stretched to, service both communities and I don't want to see our residents suffer or be delayed.
I understand. I just wanted to make sure that you understood that we were already
I
servicing.
understood.
Okay, so then, do you want to?
The plan is being formatted. We are very cognizant of the fact that we are serving both communities. We never leave this community unattended by a building inspector. There's always at least one, if not two, available here, as the other one goes out to Hawthorne Woods. Right now, it's 3 times a week, only in the mornings. I do foresee with their workload, that's going to have to increase. But again, our first priority always is Mundelein. This overtime agreement is just for that. It's because there are times that with this development coming up now that we can't get done in our regular time frame, and we don't want to take away from Mundelein's residents. So we're asking them to do it on overtime. So we negotiated this for the plan reviews to get them started, and if there's a need for inspections on overtime above and beyond our current agreement, they'll be paying us on overtime. So we don't remove that service from Mundelein. We are forming a plan going forward because of increased workload both here and in Hawthorne Woods coming up that will be coming back to the board later this year with.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure our residents understood that we were very aware of, that construction is picking up and that we were dealing with to make sure that we had that all covered. And you guys do a wonderful job. Thank you.
And thank you for noticing.
I do have,
Yes.
my question is more about dollars and cents, and I think this is great that we're having this intergovernmental agreement and they're going to pay our overtime. I guess my question is that if there is overtime, it's on Hawthorne Woods' dime, not ours. That's my priority, is that
Absolutely
the
correct.
overtime is done in Hawthorne Woods, not in Mundelein.
Correct. That's why it's outside of our normal hours. They would pay the overtime. And there's a chance that later this year we'll probably come back with renegotiating the fees globally, include this. So
Okay.
we're always looking to make sure we're covering our costs.
Good.
Anyone else? Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Voss.
Yes.
Semple.
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next up is a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of the Third Amendment to the Development Agreement at Lake Ridge Townhomes. So, that's 5 and 6. We have the petitioner here.
We are, thank you.
So I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of the Third Amendment to the Development Agreement, Lake Ridge Townhomes.
Motion by Voss,
Second.
second by Kim. Go ahead and lead off the discussion here.
There is, you want to just hop in, there's some confusion or some discussion about property rights for, not for the first 9 units, but were there public improvements?
Mr., your village attorney has addressed that. That's in section 5A. We're deferring that in the next 60 days with your ability to opt out of the agreement if we haven't resolved it in 60 days. The issue of the ownership of the improvements that the previous developer has installed that he promised in an annexation agreement to dedicate to the village, but because of the way state law works, The village doesn't accept the improvements until they're finished. Unfortunately, the economy intervened, the development failed, and my client is here to try to get this development moving again. You were very gracious the last time we saw you on July 14th to allow us to proceed with completing the interiors of the 9 units that were up. We're about 30 days from completing. We promised that we wouldn't market, sell, lease these units. In the meantime, we believe that we've done all the things that we promised that we would do at that meeting on July 14th. We've incorporated the Homeowners Association. Mr. Buckman hosted a meeting that most of the homeowners the existing members of the development joined him at to explain what his plan is for the ground. He has pulled the necessary permits. He started the construction. He's proceeding at a pace, and so we would. And what he's also asked to do is that, as you know, you were able to negotiate with the Canadian National to provide some money to provide a berm. This agreement, as Mr. Barrera's memo so aptly describes, allows us to proceed with that berm, which is going to be a benefit to the existing residents that are there, as well as the ones that we hope to be living here soon. So we'd ask that we take this approach that I believe that your village attorney and Mr. Barrera are recommending, and that we be permitted to now market and sell the 9 units and work with you and your staff to resolve this. Basically, a bill of sales, what it is an issue of a defunct corporation that's foreclosed and lost its land. And it's unfortunately an issue that this community has seen a similarity to it in the past, and your attorney's being prudent in terms of his approach on it, and we want to work with him. But we'd also like to proceed with this development. I think it's a benefit to your community. Thank you.
So, Charlie, maybe this is sort of confusing for us. So what we're talking about is who really has the rights to the public improvements for the land that has not yet been built on. Do I have that right?
Well, it's the public improvements that have already been installed
Okay.
that would serve this development. They're
Yes.
not complete. The Lake Ridge Townhome Corporation installed those original improvements some years ago, and Rainey Land Development wants to complete them. But the village needs a bill of sale, not only for the to be completed public improvements to be done by Rainey Land, but also for the public improvements that were installed by Lake Ridge Townhome. This is what state law requires of the village. And so what this amendment, Third Amendment to the Development Agreement essentially does is it allows Rainey Investments to complete the 9 units in the building that already exists, that he's in the process of completing, to sell them or lease them, market them, get occupancy certificates for them when they're completed according to village code. It also allows him to construct the buffer and be reimbursed by the village from the fund created by the monies deposited with the village by Canadian National for that buffer. But it only allows him to go that far until and unless he gets this issue resolved with Lake Ridge Townhomes Corporation that installed these prior public improvements. And he's willing to accept that. He understands he can't go any further in completing those public improvements, nor can he get any building permits for the 30-some townhome units yet to be constructed on the undeveloped lots until that matter is resolved and the village, it comes back to the village board, and the village board is satisfied with the resolution of that. And if he doesn't do it, if he doesn't come up with that resolution within 60 days, then the village board has reserved the right to terminate the third amendment. However, that termination would not affect any occupancy permits for the, or certificates of occupancy for those 9 units in the existing building, and would not affect the installation of the buffer or the reimbursement by the village for the cost of the buffer from that separate fund.
Is there any risk of litigation that the village is taking on by granting this?
There certainly is a risk of litigation, and for that reason, Rainey Land Investments has agreed to execute undertaking indemnification and hold harmless as a condition to the village signing this third amendment, which would require Rainey Land Investments to hold the village harmless from both the costs of litigation and any judgments or settlements that would be made in connection with that.
And is there a reason that we have to pass this third amendment?
Well, I think reason dictates that it be passed, because here there is a building with 9 unfinished units that Rainey Investments has been authorized to go ahead and complete, and to now hold up the marketing and the lease or sale of those 9 units until this subdivision public improvements matter is resolved, I think is not justifiable.
And so in saying that this will expire in 60 days or whatever, if they can't give us the information that we need, are we sort of requiring them or encouraging them to go back to the prior owner and have the dialogue that they haven't had?
Yeah, we are.
Okay. I think I've asked every question I can think of to maybe make it clearer for the rest of the board. Does anybody else have any questions?
I guess, can they still sell those 9 units without having this?
Third Amendment?
Third
approved?
Amendment?
No, because they've given the village a letter back in July 14th, at the request of the village board, saying they would not market them or sell them or lease them or request certificates of occupancy on them until a Third Amendment was approved. Well, this is the Third Amendment.
But they don't, okay, call me, I've been trying to listen and trying to understand, what don't they own?
What they don't own under state law is the public improvements that were installed in the public right-of-way or outside of the perimeter of this development by the prior developer. They do not own it. In the foreclosure action that the bank brought, that they got good title to the lots, the property itself, but they didn't get title to these subdivision improvements, sewer and water lines that are in the public streets or are off-site from the property.
If I could just say this, I mean, this is a public record, and I would hope that Mr. Marino's statements are taken in the context that he who allegedly has those could make these claims, and that he's not making any admission that those people continue to own them, because we've been through this a lot.
Yeah, that's a fair statement, Mr. Burney.
Thank you, Mr. Marino. So you're not admitting or saying that they own them, they're
No, they're not.
Okay, so I don't, so
acknowledging.
all I can say is you don't own them.
No. They think they do own them.
You think
It's
you
their
do own them.
position, they do own them. but
Okay.
They have not been able to produce evidence that I am satisfied with, where I could recommend to the board that they accept that evidence.
So my question is, how can they, but they can still sell the units if they don't have access to the water and sewer?
No, they're already hooked up to
They're
the
already-
water and sewer. The prior developer already hooked this building up to the water and sewer. So I don't see a problem with the 9 units in the existing building that's already hooked up. The problem is going forward with new buildings to be constructed on the property and extending those subdivision improvements to those new buildings. Now, there's a number of ways that this can be resolved. One is for them to get a bill of sale from the prior developer. Another is to litigate it with the prior developer and get a court finding that, in fact, the prior developer doesn't have any further right in those water and sewer lines and other public improvements that are off-site or in the public right-of-way. So it's up to the developer, the new developer here, Rainey Land Investments, Mr. Buckman, to decide how he's going to proceed with this. But what you're doing is giving him the right to go ahead and sell and lease and market those 9 units in the existing building, and also allowing him, if he wishes, to go ahead and put in the buffer and get reimbursed by the village, regardless of whether he gets this resolved or not. But if he doesn't get it resolved in 60 days, the village board reserves the right to terminate the Third Amendment, except with regard to the 9 units and the buffer. So that part cannot be terminated.
Okay. Anyone
Anybody
else?
else?
I have no problem with approving this Third Amendment, but 60 days will be here very soon.
Well, it will, and that doesn't mean the board can't extend the
Well,
60
yeah,
days.
right.
Yeah.
It would seem to me that someone has to take a preemptive approach in a court to determine who owns these public improvements.
Yeah.
I mean, we all understand what's going on, and the longer it goes on, perhaps the more effective is the approach on the part of whoever is doing all this to Rainey Investments.
Okay.
You're assuming somebody's doing something to Rainey Investments. I think,
Of course.
you understood the risk when you started this.
Well, if I could answer that, he read the agreement that Mr. Marino negotiated and your village manager at the time, the planning director here, which commanded the previous owner to convey these improvements to the village. There was never any suggestion that the village, do you ever pay a developer for putting in sewer and water lines and storm improvements for a development that's serving it? Of course not. And so the notion that this developer would be entitled to dime one for an improvement like this is amusing. But in any event, that's the trap that Mr. Buckman finds himself in now. Yes, he did know what he was buying, and he relied on the annexation agreement before he bought the ground. And, we would like to continue to work with the board because on this issue, but we would like to move forward on this part of it now, and perhaps that will remove some of the leverage that people feel that they have over this development.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Clerk, please take the roll.
Voss.
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Semple.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thanks again tonight and also for July 14th, because we wouldn't be where we were.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on it says the third amendment to development agreement, but we just did that, so I don't know why it's there again. On my hard copy, it says that. So I believe I'm done. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on. Next up, Communication and Marketing Committee. Trustee Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Levato, unless you have any update for us, I have no.
No, we're moving on. Yep. Yes.
Unless you have any updates, I have no report.
Okay. Next up, Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, Trustee Abernathy.
Wait, I had asked Mr. Levato if he had any update.
Oh,
He
I'm
went,
sorry.
and then we moved forward.
I just had just a couple of things. I just wanted to make everybody aware that the village is actively seeking residents' input and opinions on a number of open issues, and one of those is a public works survey. I think that is out on the street and has been for a while. We're also developing a customer satisfaction survey for our customer service counter here and contacts that they have. And I know Trustee Meyer is. Oh, okay, then I won't say that. And then lastly, over the next weeks, we'll be developing marketing collaterals that promote our existing property enhancement grant program. That's one that the board has approved, and EDC is going to get working on that. So we're going to develop that communication piece that, moving forward.
Okay.
So.
Thank you, Mr. Levato.
Trustee Abernathy.
Mr. Boucher, anything?
Just one thing, we're going to be having a public meeting regarding the sanitary sewer project on Lake Street near Diamond Lake Road and Allenson Road.
Okay.
To discuss some land acquisition as well as just the general scope of the project for those that will be affected. It'll be Monday at 6:30 p.m. right here.
And
This
then
coming
I
Monday
do
the 3rd,
have,
yeah.
Now, excuse me, that's for the street project in the spring?
That's for a sanitary sewer project
Sanitary
relocation.
sewer project, okay. Okay.
okay, and then I also have, just wanted to say that, God, I think it's November 9th and 16th. There is a Route 53, I guess a lot of people have read about that in the newspaper. There is a Route 53 land use open forum from 4 to 7 at Byron Colby Barn, and then also at Lake Zurich High School, that the public is invited to have some input on Route 53. And this is just on the land use on that corridor that would be 1 mile either side of Route 53. Going over the different types of development that can be done. One of the things that I would suggest, I would like to see us maybe have some form of informational meeting for the rest of the board on what is going on with Route 53. Chairman Lawler said he would be willing to come in and talk with us. I have opened that up with him.
Okay.
I think, I know that in December, we're going to see if IDOT's going to approve the funding.
No,
Aren't they, the finance committee going with funding?
no, in January, we will, in some, put together a package that would go down to the tollway.
That, the Tollway Authority, sorry, not
Tollway
IDOT, sorry,
Commission.
yeah,
And then-
Tollway Commission.
And then that would include the finance package, the land use package, the whole works, and then they're gonna give thumbs up, thumbs down.
Right.
And if they give thumbs up, then things get real interesting. you know,
Exactly,
so.
that's, yeah, exactly. It gets, so that's why I thought it would be good for us to at least let the board know where we are.
Would you envision that being in a committee of the whole meeting before a board meeting?
Yes.
Okay, so would you like, you're looking for dates, I can tell, right? Because we have
If
so
it doesn't
many-
go until the new year, I mean, it goes until the new year.
Okay, we might have to do that, I think, perhaps go into January.
December,
just
we have the
so many
8th or.
topics.
We will, we'll look at the calendar. I know November 10th is full. I have one item for December 8th. Where am I at?
December 8th.
I have November, I've got 2 months, so I'll try and squeeze it in somewhere.
If you can't, I mean, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'll,
But I do think it's important. I know there is, yeah. Okay, trustee Voss, I know you have something to say.
Well, I just have some questions. So you're talking about this going to Springfield, but you're talking about that it would require funding from some portion of Mundelein, yes?
The finance part of it is quite complex. The package now is a combination of shuffling around the the actual toll rates at various locations. There's also gasoline tax, I think, is part of that package as well. So technically, that would be here.
I would
but,
just suggest that if any of this is something that we would have to approve or vote on, then even down the line, then perhaps it would behoove us to have it come to us before it goes to Springfield, and they say, yeah, and you bring it back, and we say, yeah, well, you didn't ask us.
Yeah, I don't think that that's part of the,
Okay,
that's
because
not part
I
of
read in
the-
the paper that we're talking about, you know, that there's a better than $2 billion gap that the county would have to make up, and that they're looking for municipalities to participate in that. You're quoted in
I'm quoted?
this article.
Oh, what did I say?
I'd be happy to give this to you.
I
I've
would
underlined
appreciate
it.
that.
But I
Which one
guess
is that?
I would prefer that we, as a board, be maybe updated a
Hence
little
the
bit
meeting.
better about this, so that I'm not getting my information from the paper if you're saying it's perhaps not all accurate. That's all.
Well, it's not, simply is not a fact that the county itself would have to make up to a $2 billion gap. That amount is not going to come from just the county.
Okay, well, it says twice here, there's an estimated gap as large as 2.4 billion that must be closed by other sources, and
Yeah, not
talks about municipalities and 4 cents a gallon tax and a 2-mile radius, which would pretty well take up all of Mundelein compared to where the road is, being, you know, maybe a special tax in that area and development. So it seems like those are things that we should maybe weigh in on sooner rather than later.
Okay. We can have a meeting and go over that. Not all of that, that is all currently being talked. It hasn't been solidified and voted on formally to be sent down by the committee. So, but you're right. I mean, there would be the 2-mile thing. We can definitely go through this.
Okay.
And it'd be nice to have Mr. Lawler here as well. That would be
Okay.
great.
Did you not see your article? I mean, it's
I mean,
there. The
what-
Daily Herald is doing a big front page every
What
day.
paper is that you're showing?
This
Okay.
is the Daily Herald.
Okay. Yeah.
This is, yeah, yesterday's, and it was again today, and who knows what it'll be tomorrow, but
Well, they didn't interview me about it. They might have quoted me at the Finance Committee meeting when I presented the findings of our subcommittee on the value capture portion of the package. And that would be a part of, maybe they quoted me when I presented our subcommittee's findings.
well, the quote is, "We felt this is a very politically acceptable approach to go with this. We know that with the road, there will be a significant amount of commercial and industrial development," said Mayor Steve Lentz, who
Yeah.
headed the group.
Yes, I headed the group. And what we did is, I'll just explain it to you right now, if you want. I mean, well, you want to wait? Yes. All right, we'll wait.
Okay.
I mean, I mean, there's context to your quotation, but I was presenting the findings of that subcommittee to a rather large room full of other committee members, land use folks, as well as press and a lot of other people there as well.
And what is your committee, your group?
It was a subcommittee of the finance, okay, that was supposed to go, and we examined the value capture aspect of bringing in revenue for the stewardship fund, which is going to create about a $70 million bucket of money to be used for environmental purposes, to make sure that this is an environmental friendly corridor.
Yeah, that's in here somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right. That was it. You done? Other reports?
I'm done.
Trustee Meyer.
All right, I just wanted to remind everybody that there's the Old Village Hall Study Committee, and there's a survey out there. It's been out there for 2 weeks. This is the final week. The survey ends Friday, October 31st. It's available both online and manually. There's paper copies at the new Village Hall that can be picked up and used. And so if you haven't done it yet, please go out and finish the survey and submit your responses.
Very good.
Good question, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Trustee Sullivan.
I wonder, Trustee Meyer, is your committee interviewing individuals? You're bringing in expert witnesses or people that might be able to shed some light on the Village Hall and
Well,
the
at
old
this,
Village Hall?
at this point, I mean, it's open to the public. We have had people come in and, offer opinions. We did our Village Hall tour and looked at the place with the committee members. We have architects on the committee and construction people on the committee.
There's an individual, the reason I ask, there's an individual who has probably the best insight, anybody I know, in regard to the actual building, and that's Bob Flug. Bob is a retired Mundelein employee. He was the head of the facility maintenance department.
Right, and I was talking to Trustee Semple prior to this meeting and informed him that we do have a meeting November 6th, and to extend an invitation to him to
Okay,
attend that
wonderful.
meeting.
Great.
And he would be welcome and free to provide information, address questions that the committee might have, whatever he has to offer, we would gladly accept. And that meeting would be 6:30 in the conference room right next door to here on November 6th.
Okay, he's notified of that time and place.
But it's a public, I mean, it's on our website that the meeting, all of our meetings are public meetings, the public's willing, able to attend. I did share that information with Trustee Semple so that if he's in contact with him, he could, extend that invitation. He did not contact me, but obviously he's talked to other people.
Yes. Well, I'm hoping that.
It's open to the public, I
he
mean,
might come in and talk to your committee.
right.
Okay, we'll let them know.
Could you say that date again?
November 6th.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
And maybe it's directed more towards Mr. Schubkagel. Have we done an evaluation of the soundness of this building, I guess is the best? Is it, like a viability, like truly can we?
But that's part of, after we get the survey,
Well-
then we're going to determine if we need studies.
It
And
has,
those
hold on,
studies.
can I finish asking my question? I understand, but if the survey comes back and they want to turn it into something, and now we're going to go and do a study and say, no, that building is not viable for that, now we're going to really upset a huge portion of our public that's all voted to have it become a civic center. And you're going to sit there and say, there is no way this can become a civic center. So I guess that's my question. Have we done any kind of, like the footings in this building, or it's about to fall in on itself? I don't know.
That's a loaded question. I would say that the bones are good,
The bones are good.
right? Depending what they want, what's going to be happening to the building. I mean, if you are going to build a civic center, there's things that go with that. So it depends what the proposed use is. But the building as a whole it's got some achy bones, but it's there.
Because if if we change, now correct me if I'm wrong, if we change the use, you have to elevate it to a second floor. I mean, isn't there like 6 floors in there?
Well, there's at least 5 levels.
Right.
It's 5 to 7 levels.
I mean, so we're talking gut it.
Pretty much, yes. I'm
Yeah.
sure any kind of a real new use would take a complete gut, remodel, elevators, accessibility. It's a big project.
It is. And so part of this survey is finding out how to fund that.
Yes.
There are funding questions on the survey. And based on the results of the survey, the committee will then look at, do we need to do any further studies? We've dedicated November and December as a time period to go out and do studies with findings to come back in January. So if there are studies that we feel are needed, or, structural engineering or any kind of items that are needed, either based on the results of the survey or based on other input that we have received, we're going to go out and do that. And all of that information will be part of the report that goes to the village board as recommendations on, here's what we've done, here's what we found, here are some recommendations.
So before any money's spent, it'll come to the village board?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure,
The end
before we start putting money into this, that we do get a say in that.
Yeah, the end result of our committee process is, here's what we've done, here's what we found, here's recommendations. All of those reports go to the village board, and then it's up to the village board to determine, what they're going to do with it, if they accept any of the recommendations, some of the recommendations, or none of the recommendations. So it goes to the village board for determination.
My colleagues should lose any sleep thinking that this is something that's going to happen anytime soon. In fact, it's my belief that this road has never been further away than it is at this moment in time. My good friend George Ranney has finally done it. He has finally come to agreement, making this road so expensive that it can never be built. And I think, I'll say it over, and I've been saying it for years and years and years, we need to come to the realization that this road can't be built, and we need to concentrate on present roadways and the incremental improvement of those roads. You can talk about funding all you want, but it's not going to happen. It's in excess of $3 billion. I don't think there's ever been a road more expensive. In fact, Route 10 through the Gulf Coast, almost 20% bridged, was an outrageously expensive roadway. But of course, down in those states, they had a way of getting money together. This road will even dwarf the expense, even on an inflation-rated basis. It's not going to happen, in my view. And we need to get over our preoccupation with this road. So don't lose any sleep thinking you're missing out on something, because you're not going to. Thank you.
Anyone else? I'll let that go for now. When we have our committee of the whole meeting, we can go through it again.
You know, the present tolls are 4 or 5 cents a mile.
Oh.
You know that the projected tolls on this road, and only providing 25 to 30% of the funding, are in excess of 20 cents a mile, probably closer to 25, 6 cents a mile. Now, that's one of the biggest tax increases that's ever been placed on the people of Lake County. It's goofy, and we got to get over this preoccupation with Route 53.
Well, I'll tell you, I went and visited with a Boy Scout troop a couple months ago, and and I gave a short presentation, but it was mostly a question and answer thing. And what topic would you think that the Boy Scouts were asking me of more than any other topic? It was Route 53 extension. The Boy Scouts. And it was, my parents would save so much time commuting to work. They were aware, they had the discussion, they were having the discussion in their home. So, no doubt it's going to be expensive. I would say this, the Tollway Authority, when they took it over from IDOT, it seems like these folks are pretty darn serious. And you may think it's farther away than it's ever been, but in terms of at the state level, I think it's closer than it's ever been, if you were to judge it by the seriousness of the state level folks that have been addressing this. But we'll see. We'll know. We're going to know pretty soon.
We've had these
Okay.
little study groups before.
I
where,
know.
It was imminent.
Well.
And it was affordable, much more affordable during those days.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Oh, Trustee Voss.
Just last, so I believe in November, the state will decide about medical marijuana dispensaries. Is that right? November?
You mean in terms of the licenses being issued?
Yeah.
And you want to be the first to know? What?
Yeah, that's
Is that
exactly
right?
it.
Okay. I guess.
I just am asking that as soon as
What?
staff finds out, could they send an email to the board? We'd like to know. Thank you.
Okay. All right, omnibus vote items. We have 2 items, numbers 1 and 2. Does any trustee wish to pull either item off the omnibus vote list? Nope, okay, I need a motion to pass the 2 omnibus vote items, number 1 and 2.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Abernathy, second by Voss. Discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Voss?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Meyer? Yes. Sullivan?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Motion carries. That takes us to village staff reports. Village Administrator, Mr. Lebedo.
I just had one item for tonight. You may recall, I think it was October 6th, our strategic planning meeting. We had a gentleman, I think a husband, wife, show up here from Wellington. I had some concerns about the flooding, and we thought that we would have some information for the board to consider, at least discuss by tonight, but we don't have that put together as of yet. And so I spoke with the homeowner and let them know that we would have that back to the board on the 10th of November. So that's just an FYI. That's all I
Okay.
have tonight.
Thank you. Village Attorney, Mr. Marino.
I have no report, and I understand there is no need for an executive session.
Okay. Very good. Village Clerk.
No report.
All right. There's no executive session, and so that takes us to other business. There's none listed. Thank you very much for attending, everybody. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Kim, second by Abernathy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.